our next president, Carly Fiorina.
Thank you so much. Thank you and good evening. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Marilinda, Ovid, all the people who supported me. And thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen of the Grange, who worked so hard to put this event together. I actually have so much to thank the people of New Hampshire for. You know, when I launched my candidacy on May 4th, I was 17 out of 16. I mean, the pollsters didn't even ask my name. Literally. And they didn't ask my name because less than 3% of you had ever heard of me. And so everybody kind of wrote me off. Well, you know, she can't do this. But you, the citizens of New Hampshire, actually take your citizenship responsibilities very seriously. And so you came and listened to me in dining rooms and living rooms and community centers and diners. And you've carried me this far. So thank you so very much for giving me an opportunity to talk with you. Now, I hope you're going to carry me all the way, because, you know, the citizens of New Hampshire think actually that it's your job to vet candidates. It's your job to winnow the field, nobody else's job. I have to thank you for something else as well, though, because it's actually here in New Hampshire where I first started thinking about running for president. You see, I was giving a speech. It was the summer of 2014. It was at the Seacoast, and I was at a Rotary Club. And before I gave this speech, I sat down at the lunch table to eat with the Rotarians, and this gentleman came up to me, and I have to say he was a tiny bit hostile, and he said, I'm not going to agree with you on anything. And I said, well, why is that, sir? He said, well, I'm a Democrat. Well, we're not going to agree. I said, well, you might be surprised. I gave a speech that night, that day, that luncheon day, on human potential. That it is the only limitless resource we have. And it is the only resource we need to solve every problem. That most people have far more potential than they realize. And that this nation is extraordinary and has always been exceptional because more things have been more possible for more people from more places here than anywhere else on earth. At the end of that speech, this gentleman came up to me again and he looked at me and said, "Amen." And then he said this, you know, Carly, we don't think of ourselves as a nation of limitless possibility anymore. And when I heard that, it really hit me. Because when we don't think of ourselves as a nation of limitless possibility, we are losing the core of who we are. This has always been a nation of possibility. This is a nation that always said yes, even when something was very hard to do, when others said no. This is a nation that, unique in the world, has always valued merit over privilege, and hard work over entitlement, and saying yes over saying no. We never accepted the way things were. If we didn't think it was right, we focused and achieved what could be, what should be. I know that this has been a nation of limitless possibility for me. Having traveled and lived and worked, done business, done charity, done policy work all over the world, in every corner of the world for decades, I am keenly aware that it is only in this nation that a young woman could start out the way I did, typing and filing and answering the phones for a little 9-person real estate firm in the middle of a deep recession in the late 70s. Go on one day to become the chief executive of what we turned into the largest technology company in the world and run for the presidency of the United States. That is only possible here in this great nation. Now, I have to tell you, at many, many junctures along my life, indeed all throughout my life, I have had people come up to me and say, settle down. Don't challenge the status quo. Accept the way things are. Sit down and be quiet. Don't rock the boat. Just settle. And I have refused to accept that advice all of my life. I am running for the presidency of the United States because I think the American people are now being given that same advice. And I think we've been getting that same advice for too long. Sit down, settle, don't challenge, just accept the way things are. Why, ladies and gentlemen, should we settle for a nation where record numbers of men are out of work? Why should we settle for a nation where record numbers of women are living in poverty? Why should we settle for a nation where our young people are no longer sure that the American dream applies to them? Why should we settle for working families whose wages have stagnated for decades now? Why should we settle for a nation where we are literally destroying more small businesses every day than we are creating? And with them, with those small businesses that are going under, goes the entrepreneurial spirit and the job-creating capability of this great nation. And why should we settle for the fact, the reality that while all that is going on, the rich get richer, the powerful get more powerful, the wealthy and the well-connected get better connected? Why are we settling for a government that no longer serves the people who pay for it, but instead serves itself, protects itself, nurtures and nourishes itself? Why should we settle for a government, a vast, bloated bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., that has become so inept and so corrupt that it can no longer care for our veterans? It can no longer and isn't securing our border. It isn't keeping our nation safe. Why should we settle for a professional political class of both parties, people who spend their entire life running and winning, running and winning, running and winning, saying what they need to say in the drawing rooms of Manhattan or in the dining rooms of Iowa, saying whatever it takes to win and then doing exactly as they please? And why should we settle for an establishment in a media that decides they get to pick the candidates, they get to decide who you hear from, instead of allowing you to do your job as the first in the nation primary and vet and winnow the candidates? You see, if I sound angry, it's because I am. And I think a lot of you are too. Americans feel as though we are powerless. Powerless to control our own futures, powerless to hold our government accountable and cut it down to size. And yet, we have enormous power, but we are not using it. You see, every problem that we have can be solved, and all of our wounds can be healed. But we can only do this if we remember who we are. Ours was intended to be a citizen government. We know in our bones that power dispersed into the hands of the many is always more competent, more compassionate, more wise, more just than power concentrated in the hands of the few. Ladies and gentlemen, I am running for the presidency of the United States because I believe it is my calling to return this nation to a citizen government. I am running for the presidency of the United States because I think it is time. Citizens, it is time to take our future back. It is time to take our politics back. It is time to take our government back. Citizens, it is time to take our country back. This is why I have rolled out my blueprint. It is a statement of commitment to you, the citizens of this great nation. It is a set of things that we must do first to restore possibilities in this nation, to cut this government down to size and hold it accountable, to restore the character of our nation, to protect our nation and keep Americans safe. And I want you to hold me accountable for this. I have to stop and tell you an interesting story. You know, when I first launched my campaign, I was in Iowa, and a rather seasoned political reporter with the Des Moines Register said, "You know, Carly, you're not used to the level of accountability and scrutiny that politicians are under." I said, "Really?" You know, as a chief executive or an executive of a publicly traded company, you know what I had to do every 90 days? I had to stand up and report out our results in excruciating detail and answer every single question in public. And then I had to project forward what we were going to do in the next 90 days in excruciating detail and answer every question. And if I misrepresented those results or those projections, I would be held criminally liable. Now imagine if we held politicians to that standard. You see, I come from the same world you do. We actually know that actions speak louder than words. We know that if you say you're going to do something, you better do it. And that we judge the content of people's character not by what they say, but by what they do. So I've rolled out this blueprint because I want you to hold me accountable for it. And I actually want to come back in January of 2018 and ask you, how am I doing? These are not the only things we must do, but these are the first things we must do to restore a citizen government. We have to actually lift the burden of an incredibly complicated tax code off the backs of this nation. 73,000 pages. That's what our tax code looks like today. I had a conference call earlier today, and an accountant asked me a question. And before I answered his question, I said, let me ask you something. You're an accountant. Do you understand the tax code? He said, no, I do not. Exactly. Exactly. My dad was a professor of tax law. I loved my dad. He wrote books about federal tax law. I would say, Daddy, it's so boring. And I'll never forget what my dad would say to me, Carly, the tax code is how government exercises power. And that's right. And 73,000 pages of a tax code crushes the small and the powerless and elevates the big and the powerful. And so we got to go from 73,000 down to 3. That's item 1. We have to change how the government takes your money. And let's just start with the fundamentals. They need to take less of it. Yeah. Now, you know, there's a 20-year-old plan, for a 3-page tax code, because that's what we got to do. Go down to 3 pages. The pundits have said, you can't do that. Yeah, we can. 20 years old. It's been sitting around for 20 years. Never gets voted on. Why do you suppose that is? Think about all the oxes that are going to get gored when you go from 73,000 to 3. But I'm going to ask you to help me get that done, and I'll tell you how in just a moment. But when we go from 73,000 pages down to 3, guess what happens? We don't need quite as many IRS agents, do we? And do you know how many IRS agents we have today? More than the CIA and the FBI combined. Does that strike you as a problem? In these dangerous times, you bet it's a problem. Ask yourself this. How is it possible that every year the government spends more and more money under Republicans and Democrats alike and never has enough money to do the important things? How is that possible? How can we be almost $20 trillion worth in debt and we never have enough money? You know why that is? You know why we can't ever reprioritize? Because the way the federal government budgets, all the money is spoken for. If you're a government agency and I give you money, you never give it back. So the next thing on this list is we actually have to force the government to budget the way you do. How do you budget? How do we all budget? You examine every dollar. You can cut any dollar. You can move any dollar. That's how we do it. That's how we do it at home. That's how we do it at church. That's how we do it in our businesses. Not how the government does it. You know what that's called? Zero-based budgeting, fancy term for a pretty common sense subject. So we are going to go to zero-based budgeting to force the government to examine every single dollar so they spend less of your money and spend it more wisely and well. How are we going to get those things done? By the way, might be interested to know, there's a bill for zero-based budgeting sitting on the floor of the U.S. House. Nobody's voting on it. Why? Oh, all those professional politicians, boy, that rattles the cage. That challenges the status quo. You know how I'm going to get those bills passed? I'm going to use the power of the citizenry. And how I will do that is each and every week, I'm going to walk into the Oval Office, maybe in a weekly radio address, and I'm going to ask you to take out your smartphones or your smart devices of choice. If you have a flip phone still, you might want to upgrade. Just a suggestion. And I'm going to say to you, my fellow citizens, do you think finally we should pass that bill for a 3-page tax code or zero-based budgeting? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. You see, ladies and gentlemen, there's an app for citizen government. Technology is an incredibly powerful tool, and I will use it to harness your anger and frustration, but more importantly, your common sense and good judgment to move the political class and challenge the status quo. And then the next thing I'm going to ask you is, should we finally actually repeal Obamacare and replace it with a common sense healthcare system that's going to work? Should we stand up and restore the character of this nation by protecting religious liberty, a principle upon which this nation was founded, and religious liberty is under assault in this nation? Should we finally quit talking about it and actually secure the border? How long have we been talking about this? 25 years. Politicians will stand up and talk to you about their plan, but somehow it just never gets done. I'm going to get it done, and we're going to then enforce a pro-American immigration system. And last but not least on this blueprint, we need to lead again in the world. We must start by defeating ISIS. We must be clear-eyed about who are our allies and who are our adversaries. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we can do all these things. We can. We can solve all these problems. We can heal all these wounds. But first, we have to beat Hillary Clinton. That's the first order of business. Now, you might want to ask yourself, what's it take to beat Hillary Clinton? We're not going to beat her with a nominee who routinely insults women and everyone else. We're not going to beat her with someone who says one thing in one place and another thing in some other place. We're not going to beat her with someone who isn't tough enough to have the fight. And we're not going to beat her with someone who doesn't have the experience to make a tough call because they've never made a tough call in their life. Whether you've decided to support me yet or not, and I really know that the people of New Hampshire take your responsibilities seriously, and I respect that. And so I've met a lot of people here in New Hampshire who say, well, I've only seen you one time. Or maybe I've only seen you twice. I got to see you the third time. Okay, I respect that. But I also know, in your heart of hearts, you cannot wait to see the debate between Hillary Clinton and Carly Fiorina. And why do you whistle and applaud when I say that? Because you know what's going to happen. Not only is it the fight of the century, buy your tickets now, but besides all that, you know what's going to happen. I will win. And we have to win, ladies and gentlemen. None of this that I'm talking about is going to be quick and easy. This is hard work, but it all can be done. Quick and easy is not in the American character. We are prepared to do the heavy lifting. This has always been an exceptional nation. Not perfect, but exceptional. We are exceptional because we believe profoundly in the value of every life, because we believe in the God-given gifts of every individual, because we know in our bones that power dispersed into the hands of many is far more competent, compassionate, wise, and just than power concentrated in the hands of the few. I believe we need a president of the United States who understands how the economy actually works so that we can get it going and growing again. I believe we need a president who understands how the world works and who's in it, who knows our allies personally, as well as some of our adversaries, who knows our military and our intelligence capability intimately and well. I think we need a president who understands bureaucracies, because our federal government's grown into one giant, bloated, inept, corrupt bureaucracy that has to get cut down to size. She must understand technology. Mrs. Clinton, you don't wipe a server with a towel. Yes, indeed, you can have more than one account on a device, but technology is an incredibly powerful tool that I'm going to use to restore power to you, the citizens of this nation, but it is also a weapon. It is a weapon that is being wielded against us by our enemies, and we need a president who understands how to deal with that. But perhaps the most important thing of all is we need a president who understands what leadership is. You know, when I was a secretary, I thought that the leader was whoever had the big office, whoever had the big title, whoever had the best parking space, whoever had the perks. And then I got a little older and wiser, and I learned that there were people with big offices, big titles, big egos, and they were not leading. You see, leadership is not about the size or even the shape of your office. And it sure isn't about the size of your ego. The highest calling of a leader is to unlock potential in others. I believe my highest calling is to restore a citizen government to this great nation. Citizens, I am prepared to count on your common sense and good judgment. You know something is going desperately wrong in this country and the system is no longer working for us. I am also prepared to count on your courage and your wisdom and your fortitude to do what must be done now. I ask you to join me. Stand with me, support me, vote for me, because citizens, it is time. It is time to take our future back. It is time to take our politics back. It is time to take our government back. Citizens, join me. It is time to take our country back. Questions? Yes, sir.
Why are you running as a Republican instead of an independent?
Why am I running as a Republican instead of an independent? Because the core principles of the Republican Party I agree with. Now, by the way, there are lots of Republicans that I don't agree with. Lots of Republicans that I don't agree with. But the Republican Party is the party of Abraham Lincoln. I was asked, I have to tell you a little story because it's a really important question you just asked. And in order to win, we have to, I think, reintroduce conservative values and principles to this nation. So I was on The View. I know. Twice, actually, I went on The View. And, it's not exactly a Republican primary audience, but on the other hand, to win, to heal our wounds, to unify our nation, to solve our problems, we actually have to talk to people who don't yet know they agree with us. And so in the course of one of my first visits to The View, I was having a conversation with one of their hosts, Rosie Perez. We were actually talking about Vladimir Putin, who I've met, and she was kind of curious about him. Donald Trump's having a bromance with Vladimir Putin, but in any event, she said in the middle of this conversation, she said, Carly, I really like you. She sounded quite surprised, I have to say. But I'm not a Republican, she said. I said, Rosie, I'm shocked. I wouldn't have guessed this. Why are you? She asked me, why are you? And that's the question we have to answer to win. Because we have to attract others. And I said, Rosie, I'm a Republican because I know no one of us is any better than any other one of us. Each of us are gifted by God. All of us have the capacity to live lives of dignity and purpose and meaning. And I know that our principles, our values, and our policies work better to lift people up. That's why I'm a Republican. Now, I will tell you that we've had a lot of Republicans who have gone against those principles. Let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen. Crony capitalism is alive and well in Washington, D.C., and Republicans are just as guilty of it as Democrats. You see, this is the problem. When you become a member of the professional political class of either party, then you don't challenge the status quo. You just operate within it. That's how, under Republicans and Democrats alike, our government's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger for 50 years and more complicated. And what happens when government gets big and powerful and complicated? Then only the wealthy and the powerful and the big can handle it, and the small and the powerless get crushed. So, when I say I'm a Republican because I believe that people have the capacity to live lives of dignity and purpose and meaning, and I want to give them that opportunity. It is also true. You can applaud, it's okay. It is also true that whatever your party affiliation is, and I have Democrats and independents show up at my events, maybe you're an independent or a Democrat, I don't know, but the American people have found common ground on a lot of things, not on everything, but a lot of things. And let's start with our common ground. When 75% of the American people think the federal government is corrupt, what does that mean? It's Democrats, Republicans, and independents. It's young, it's old, it's men, it's women. When 80% believe we have a professional political class that cares more about its own power, position, and privilege than on actually getting anything done. By the way, Republicans as well as Democrats have exempted themselves from all the laws they pass. Then that means, once again, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, young and old, men and women, agree we need to do something different. And that's why I'm running for president.
We all know who you are. First, I'd like to thank you for calling on me. We all know who you are. I'd like to introduce myself to you.
Okay.
My name's Holly Tatro, and I'm a United States Navy Blue Star mother. I don't actually have a question for you tonight. What I do have is a challenge. You see, during Bill Clinton's second administration, in the middle of the night, by a wave of a pen and a magical executive order, he changed the terminology from POW MIA to dust wing, duty status whereabouts unknown. He did this because it was more media friendly. In actuality, what it did was it changed the urgency to the situation, their military classifications, and it put additional unnecessary stress on families, especially those that live in military housing. With the recent and pending issues surrounding Bo Bergdahl, it's more important now than ever that the terminology be restored so that those serving in harm's way today are protected by this terminology. So I'm approaching you, mother to mother, in an effort to protect my son and his family and every other son and daughter of this nation. I'm challenging you to show the world that if elected President of the United States, you will be the woman who had the courage the men didn't have, and change that terminology in your first 100 days.
I accept. Thank you, first of all, and thank you for your sacrifice and the sacrifice of your son and his family. It is a stain on our nation's honor when we do not honor and respect and care for and lift up those who serve and those who have served. There is no more heartbreaking, enraging, infuriating example of the professional political class and an inept, corrupt government than how we deal with our veterans and how we deal with those who have served. But it also, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of your power. So let me just tell you a brief story, and then I will return to the specific one moment. Do you remember when we learned about the scandal of the VA in Arizona? We learned that veterans were dying before they had ever received an appointment, and that bureaucrats were cooking the books so nobody would find out. The American people were so outraged, the citizens of this nation were so outraged that you used your power and you flooded Congress with objection. And this Congress, this political class, moved. In 3 short weeks, 3 weeks, this Congress passed a bill, a bipartisan bill. It sailed through the Senate 99-0. The president signed it, and that bill said you could fire the top 400 senior executives at the VA for dereliction of duty. Sadly, we all moved on, and the political class forgot about it like they always do because the pressure abated. One person's been fired. And now we've learned that 307,000 veterans have died waiting for health care, and the VA handed out $142 million in bonuses for superb performance. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a stain on our honor. We cannot settle for this. So, not only do I accept your challenge, mother to mother, I will also tell you this. I will promise you this. Hold me accountable for this. As Commander-in-Chief, I promise you, I will value, I will respect, I will listen to, I will care for those who serve, those who have served, and those who are willing to serve. So help me God.
Seeing as you're an extremely influential woman today, I would like to know more about your stance on the issue of abortion.
Well, I'm pro-life, and allow me to tell you why. First, I come from the world of science and technology, so science is, I think, proving those of us who believe this right every day, because we now know that the DNA in a zygote is exactly the same DNA as the day you die. So I can't draw that line. But maybe I should tell you a personal story as well. I accompanied a very dear friend of mine to Planned Parenthood when I was about 23. She wanted my support. And I watched while she was given no choices, no options. I also watched what that procedure did to her, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Then, a couple years later, I met my husband. And when we got married, 31 years ago, I learned from his mother that she had been told to abort him. She chose not to. She was a woman of courage and faith. She spent a year in the hospital after his birth. But her son, my husband, became the joy of her life. He has been the rock of mine for over 30 years. And I think often about how different my life would be had he not been in the world. A couple years later, I learned that I could not have children of my own. And so I know how precious a gift life is. Now, I do not ask everyone to agree with me, but I do say that the American people, American women, on this issue as well have found common ground. And the common ground we have found is this. Everybody, the majority of Americans, believe that abortion for any reason at all after 5 months is wrong. So let us take that common ground and finally pass the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. And we've also found common ground on this. The American people are horrified that Planned Parenthood is harvesting body parts, fetal tissue for research purposes. You may have noticed how strongly I have stood out and spoken out about that, and how much heat I took from the liberal media. But the reality is that the first budget that President Fiorina submits will have no funding for Planned Parenthood.
I've been a registered Republican for 22 years, and I understand fully where this gentleman's question came from, why you...
Me too.
...running as a Republican. We've had too many Republican presidents who have not served us well. Ever since Ross Perot started with, we've got to take our country back, every politician who's come down the pike has said the same thing, but nobody ever says who we're going to take it back from. I happen to know who we're going to take it back from. Donald Trump knows who we're going to take it back from, and so does Bernie Sanders. And I'm sure you do too. So would you please tell everybody who we're taking this country back from?
Well, we're taking this country back from the professional political class, the big and the powerful who control them, the special interests. We're taking this country back from the establishment that is benefited by a big, complicated, powerful government. That's who we're taking it back from. We're taking it back from people who use all of that complexity to their advantage. You see, when you have a big, powerful government, it creates more and more crony capitalism. Sadly, this is the lie that Bernie Sanders tells. With all due respect, Bernie Sanders says that crony capitalism is a problem. He is absolutely right. It is a problem. And Republicans and Democrats alike have contributed to it. The lie is this. Bernie Sanders' solution is more big government, more complicated government. And more big and more complicated government creates what? More crony capitalism. If you doubt that, think about the Democrats' solution. Dodd-Frank, remember Dodd-Frank? Financial crisis, how did that start? How did the financial crisis, the housing crisis start? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, right? Government-sponsored entities, Republicans and Democrats alike supported them. And they started rolling up, government decided it was a good idea for everybody to own a home, and then Wall Street got engaged. There were 25 government agencies that were supposed to be minding the store. None of them did their job. And when the crash happened, what did Democrats do? They passed Dodd-Frank. They didn't reform the 25 agencies. No one's reformed Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. And guess who helped write Dodd-Frank? The Wall Street banks. And the result is that we have 10 Wall Street banks too big to fail who have now become 5 even bigger, even more powerful Wall Street banks. Meanwhile, 1,590 community banks have gone out of business. 20% of the credit union industry has gone out of business. And why does that matter? Because community banks and credit unions serve whom? You, me, us. Small businesses, new businesses, families struggling, and we are crushing them. And meanwhile, Wall Street gets bigger and bigger. So Bernie Sanders knows the problem, but Bernie Sanders' solutions will not work, although they will take us to socialism, which is apparently what he wants. Donald Trump, frankly, is a businessman who has used all of this complexity for his own advantage his entire life. He is a crony capitalist, ladies and gentlemen, and he admits it over and over again. And by the way, we do not need another narcissist in the White House who talks about us but only cares about himself.
First, on a personal note, you mentioned your dad, and he was my tax professor.
Oh, wow. How great to meet you.
And the other thing I would say is that even then, he spoke about better ways to tax, and he went for the value-added tax. And in law school at the time, we wanted to know what's the current tax code really mean, not what should it be. That was beyond it. But he's saying the same stuff that you are still now. My question is this. We have, shockingly enough, over 300,000 people that have died from gunshots in the past decade. And we've done a lot of things wrong. I'm not interested to know what you think about President Obama's plans or what he's done in the past. My question is, given the multiple facets of that problem, do you have a plan that you would envision to try to reduce that total?
So first, we need to enforce the laws we have competently. And the reason we have to start there, Dylan Roof in South Carolina, the young man who stormed into a church and murdered 9 people. He never should have been sold a gun. The FBI has admitted it. We didn't do the background check right. And President Obama in his speech actually said, well, gee, we need more FBI agents and more DEA and ATF agents. My question to the president is, where have you been for the last 7 years? Secondly, the reason you have gun violence, incredible levels of gun violence in cities like Chicago that have the toughest gun laws in the nation, is because there are lists and lists, loads of criminals who own guns. We actually know who they are. The Justice Department has lists of criminals who should not own guns and who do. And do you know how many of those people are being prosecuted? Less than 1%. If we want to keep people safe, let's take guns out of the hands of the criminals who aren't supposed to have them. And if we want to change the laws of this country, then there's a way to do that. And it isn't with executive orders. It's with the people's representatives. That's part of returning power to the people. So you know what? The things that President Obama put forward in his executive order about background checks, actually they failed in Congress on a bipartisan basis twice. So if it's really true that the American people are all fired up about this, then let's go get laws passed. But it is not the role of the president to say, I just don't like this law, so I'm going to do something different. That's called lawlessness, just as his immigration executive orders have been lawless. He's not the only president who's abused the power of the presidency. But part of returning to a citizen government is remembering what the president's job is and what the legislature's job is. And by the way, we have kind of a good blueprint for that too. It's called the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. Let's enforce the laws we have. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Michelle Sanborn.
Hi.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You've spoken a number of times about citizen government and putting the power back into the hands of the people. And I live locally, and our community has been subjected to corporate power and privilege, being able to override our local decisions.
Yep.
In our community, we pass what's called the rights-based ordinance, which is a local law enacted by the people, citizen democratic process, to, in essence, subordinate the power and privilege of business entities that would come in to violate our right to protect our health, safety, and welfare. We are being told, as far as law today, that this is illegal because corporations have the power to override with state preemption, they often use, and they often use their power and privilege in the sense that they created many of these state agencies and corporate government agencies. So you have individuals that are coming from the corporate industry and then in turn serving in these state agencies, and they're regulating their own industry.
Yeah.
And they're writing those laws. So we have a grassroots organization here in New Hampshire, the New Hampshire Community Rights Network, that has proposed a constitutional amendment for the state of New Hampshire to secure the right of local community self-government. I'm not talking about home rule. Home rule is a myth in the sense that the state still keeps the locality, the municipality, in bondage and still has the right to take their power of choice away. So what we're talking about is local communities being able to enact rights-based laws, so expand and protect the rights of people, communities, and nature, so that you can collectively protect your natural resources, your local economics, etc. What is your stand on that proposal?
Well, that's up to the people of New Hampshire. That is up to the people of New Hampshire. Of course you get that choice. You know, the Constitution's pretty clear that specific powers not enumerated to the federal government belong to states and individuals. We got a couple amendments that say that. That is up to the people of New Hampshire. But let me address the larger issue, if I may. Let us be honest. Crony capitalism, eminent domain, this unholy alliance between big, powerful interests, whether they're unions, by the way, or whether they're businesses, and big, complicated government is what we have to take our country back from. That's the truth. So you're right. Big companies often work with a legislature to get certain laws passed so that they can come in and overturn the will of the people. It's a perfect example of taking our country back. The fundamental philosophy I have is that the United States federal government should only be doing those things that the federal government is responsible for doing. Kind of a unique concept, isn't it? Look, let me say two other things here. We are no longer a nation of laws. We have become a nation of rules. Think about how many rules, and I would consider executive orders part of this rulemaking. Think about how many rules roll out of Washington, D.C. In the last year alone, it's been 86,000 pages of rules. We have been rolling out tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of pages of rules every year for 40 plus years. Ask yourself, who are under Democrats and Republicans alike, ask yourself, who are these rule makers? Who are they? They are not elected. They are not accountable. They are nameless, faceless bureaucrats, and they spew rules out of Washington, D.C. Now, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Number one, first rule we got to repeal and law is Obamacare. Yes, Obamacare is a law, but it's also accompanied by tens of thousands of pages of rules. And by the way, did you know that buried in the pages of all those regulations of Obamacare is the takeover of the student loan industry? And the federal government decides now that your child is going to pay between 4.5% and 6.5% interest on the loans the federal government gives them. And the federal government only pays between 1.5% and 2.5% interest on its debt. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, the federal government is making money off of our young people. Does that strike you as a racket? It is. And it's one of the reasons we have to take our government back. But I will do more than just repeal Obamacare. We have to literally do a top-to-bottom review of every single rule on the books. When was the last time we did that? Never. When was the last time that you can remember a regulation was repealed? Well, actually, not never. Ronald Reagan, he repealed the 55-mile-an-hour national speed limit. Yay. He deregulated the airline industry. He deregulated the trucking industry. That's the last time. That's a long time ago. Why doesn't this stuff happen, ladies and gentlemen? Why is it that politicians stand up and tell you the same things over and over and over and over? Less regulation, less taxation, never happens. It's the difference between managers and leaders. It's not that politicians are bad people necessarily. Some of them are, but a lot of them aren't. They go for the right reasons. But managers are people who do the best they can within the existing system. They don't challenge the status quo. They accept the status quo. They operate within the status quo, and maybe, just maybe, they take advantage of the status quo. That's a manager. A leader knows their job is to challenge the status quo. That's the only way you solve festering problems. Margaret Thatcher is a great hero of mine. And Margaret Thatcher once said this: "I am not content to manage the decline of a great nation." Well, ladies and gentlemen, neither am I, and I think we have been managing the decline of this great nation for far too long, but with your support, I am prepared to lead the resurgence of a great nation.
We have time for one more question. One more question.
Okay. Sorry, this gentleman had his hand up. I'm sorry. And then you can come up and say hi.
Do you think that you should add to your list term limits for the politicians? And what is your feeling on that?
I think term limits are a great idea. So when we get through this list, these are not the only things we have to do. These are just the most important things we have to do first. So when we get through this list, then, do you believe in term limits and want that law passed? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, ladies and gentlemen.
I also have to tell you, I had a politician ask me one day what he could do for me, and I told him, stop making new laws. We can't catch up with the old ones.
There you go. There you go. I might quote you on that. I might borrow that from you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop the questions, but please come up afterwards. And if you didn't get a chance to ask your question, you can ask it in the line. Thank you for being here tonight. I know it's hot. I know it's the middle of the first week back. So thank you for being here. As I said, this is not going to be quick and easy, but that's not what we're all about. But we can restore possibilities for every American regardless of their circumstances. We can cut this government down to size and hold it accountable. We can lead again in the world and honor and value those who help us in that leadership and serve to keep our nation safe every day. We can do these things, but we cannot do them unless we are prepared to challenge the status quo of the professional politicians, unless you, as citizens, are prepared to use the power you have. So, I will ask you again, whether you've seen me 1 time, 2 times, or 3 times, join me, stand with me, support me, vote for me. Citizens, it is time. It is time to take our future back, our politics back, our government back. It is time to take our country back. God bless you. Thank you for being here tonight. All right, I hope you'll vote for me. Okay. Support me. All right, okay. Yes, of course. Hold on one second. Yes, let's have a picture with the ladies of the Grange. Okay, who's got the camera? Okay. I got it. Thank you. Good. Thank you, children. Okay, he got all that stuff for you. Why, and you look very handsome too. Who's got your camera? Wait a minute, right here. Right there. All right.
Carly, I just have to be quick. I want to ask you a question. My wife and I moved from Maryland about 5 years ago after I retired. Governor Martin O'Malley is a Democratic candidate.
Yeah.
Maryland is just awful.
Well, he's not going anywhere, so don't worry
I
about
don't
him.
care about him. What I'm just concerned about is the illegal alien vote. The Democrats seem to have that in the bag, but in Maryland, illegal aliens are allowed to vote because of the motor voter law.
It's one of the things we have to change.
It's hard
That's
to
part of a
overcome.
pro-American immigration system. Okay, who's got your camera here?
I think she's out there.
All right, well then, you know what? Why don't you wait till you get a camera? Meanwhile, I'll keep talking to other people.
Every time I come, you're better and better and better.
Help me. Go
Yes,
get them.
ma'am.
Help me. That's how it happens here.
Thank you for coming here. Little bitty podunk. We appreciate it.
All right, I want to help. You help me, I'll help you.
I've been helping you.
All right, thank you.
I've been helping you. I went and saw Donald Trump. I told him right to his face.
Good for you. God love you. Thank you. Yes, nice to see you.
Not to mention that my wife and I were Bel Air.
All right.
We have another permanent.
Fantastic. All right, thank you for helping me. Supporting me.
Just beginning.
I know. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for coming to New Hampshire. I didn't get to ask my question.
Do you know what it is?
30, 60, 90-day plan, but you absolutely nailed it. I didn't even have it. I know.
All right, help me.
You hit it on all points. Thank you so
Help
much.
me.
You're in my
Support me. Vote
you're
me.
in my-
Don't tell me I'm on the short list. Come on.
You know you earned my confidence.
There you go. Fantastic.
Nice to hear you. I wasn't for you, I have to say. But I was really impressed by what you had to say.
Well, I hope to be for me now. All right. Come on. Come on. Come on over. I'll get it done. That's how you go from secretary to CEO. You actually get it done. All right. Thank you. I hope you'll give me your support. God bless you. You count on our support. Right there.
We represent the Veterans Association. And my daughter is the Senior Vice President of MetLife in New York City. And she has business for governor. And I'm going to tell her she's a good Republican. I will tell her she talks about the work. She is. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank
She's
you
got
for your support.
89,000 employees.
Oh, wow. All right. So you ready to have a camera now? Okay. All right. Let's get the camera. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. Again. Thank you so much. You look very good.
Yeah,
You're going to be a lady killer. That's the whole truth. You're so cute.
There's no reason in this country for abortion. These young people can vote.
Yes, I know. Thank you. I hope you'll vote for me. Support me. Talk to all your friends. All right. Yes, ma'am. Muriel. Hello, Muriel. How are you? So nice to meet you. Yes, you may. Who has your camera? Oh, your husband. Okay. All right. Let's see. There you go. All right. Vote for me. Help me. Support me. Here. Rebecca can take it. That way you can be in the photo. All right. Thank you for being here. Yes, ma'am. There is one right out there. Okay? You walk that way, there is one. Okay?
Thank you for running on the back and killing me and seeing what's happened to our military. I hope
fund and build it up because we have the strongest military in the
Miss Coffee.
period. So, thank you. I hope you'll vote for me. Yeah, I know so too. All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm a fellow firefighter and I have the same thing that you do. People are like, you can't do it. I'm like, yes I can, and I'm going to show you. So you're like my hero.
All right. Talk to all your firefighter friends. All right? You get them all the calls for me. All right.
Are you heading down to National March for Life?
Yes.
I'll be there.
All right.
Yes,
Maybe we'll see you there.
Yes, yes. So nice meeting you. Yeah. Yes.
This is my second time.
Okay, are you ready to sign up?
I am, but my question to you that I didn't have a chance to think about is that
H-1B visa.
H-1B, yes. Because that is stifling jobs for Americans too.
Well, it's being abused. The program's being abused. There's no question.
And because I'm thinking about my grandson, my grandmother, 5, and my oldest one starts college. And if there's no jobs in the tech field that he can go into because they're being fast-tracked from India and other countries to come in because they pay them less. It really is just a system that has to be done.
That's right. We have to have a pro-American immigration system. All right. Will you vote for me?
I will.
Help me. Talk to all your friends.
Well, I'm sending this. My daughter has to vote long distance because she does.
Well, that's okay.
She works
Well,
in the
that's all right.
Netherlands.
You make sure she votes.
I will. Oh, I will.
Nice to meet you, Carly.
Nice to meet you.
Can we get a picture?
Yeah, you gonna vote for me? All right.
This is major.
Thank you. Good luck.
By the way, I was undersigned before major. You helped me this year.
All right. Good. Thank you. Thank you. You talk to everybody. That's how it happens in New Hampshire. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. All right. Yes. Do I have your vote too?
Yes.
All right. Here you go.
Thank you very much. Nice
Thank you for being here.
We don't have to see you 3 times.
All right, good. You made up your mind the first time. Good for you.
Thank you.
Hi, Grace. How did you get to be a designated photographer? Is this your mom?
Yeah, this is our second time seeing you. She wanted to come.
Well, good.
So just so you know, I think you won our vote.
Oh, yay.
It was Rand Paul, but I think you're it. Can you sign this for me?
Yes, of course.
Keep fighting, thank you.
All right. Especially if he's going to put it up in the window or somewhere.
Keep fighting for us.
I will, don't
Okay.
you worry.
Grace, what did you say about her?
G-R-A-C-E? G-R-A-C-E.
Yeah. Grace, what did you say about her after? I think she's going to get something done.
Yes, I
She
know.
sounds like she's
That's how
gonna
you go from secretary to CEO. You get things done.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Let's get your call for our deli in Plymouth. Patty beat
Oh, yes.
Remember? I just wanted to tell you.
An awesome deli.
I know. Keep up the good work. You keep working hard for us.
I will. You work hard for me.
I know.
In the next 33 days, and
I
I'll
will.
work hard
I
for you.
will. So good luck.
All right. Sure. Thank you. Can you sign this? Yes. Now, do you want it to all of you or one of you? Or all of us. Okay, so you got to spell lots of names here. D-E-V-I-N. D-E-V-I-N. Okay. D-E-V-Y-N. I-N. Molly Duran, M-O-L-L-I-E. M-O-L-L-I-E. Jordan, J-O-U-R. J-O-R-D-A-N. There's many ways of spelling it. A-N. And Laura. L-A-U-R-A. Yeah. Got everybody? I got everybody? Yeah. All right. Okay, now, I know you all aren't old enough to vote, but you have friends and they have parents. So you go tell your friends and tell your parents. All right? That's how you can help me. Okay? You do that? Yeah. Awesome. All right. Good.
Hi, I'm Rachel. Nice to meet you. How are you? I'm good. I have a question. Do you think that your lack of prior political involvement will help you or hinder you in your running presidency? Retreat. Definitely.
I have relevant experience in
know.
Yes,
But
definitely.
yes, it will help because I'm not part of this system.
Right.
So I can see it for what it is. It's corrupt.
Yes. So we're doing this for classes for my classmates. We're doing this for a class, and we have to get a picture with you.
Okay, you have to
And
get a picture.
I would love to get. So it's kind of a funny picture with our professor. He would like me to like talk to you with a book. Is that all right?
Sure. All right. Do you all have to be in it or just you?
We're gonna just me and then all of us.
Okay.
I know everyone's saying. Did you get it? Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
All right, now we'll do all of us.
Okay, now all of us.
All right, here, we'll put the coats in the back. Oh, well, I'll get this later.
Okay, who's got your camera? There you go.
There we go. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. Good luck on your school project.
Thank you. Thanks.
Roy Sanborn, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. One thing I've always wanted to ask somebody is, who do you envision surrounding yourself with when you're in the White House? What kind of people? I know you're going to say smart people. You can use business people?
People
Or,
who are also leaders.
Right.
They don't have to be politicians. They have to be leaders. People who aren't afraid to challenge the
Right.
system. Number two, they got to bring things to the table that maybe I don't have.
Right.
Number three, they got to be truth-tellers.
Right.
To everybody, especially to me. I don't want any yes people.
you think you're going to look to the business world for that?
Of course. Of course.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I have your vote?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. Talk to everybody you know. Hi.
I just wanted to say, one of the biggest threats to our liberty is the EPA.
Yes, absolutely.
Someone's going to crush it.
We're going to shut it down.
Good, thank you.
Absolutely. Here's the nice lady. How are you? Fine. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
I have a question. What do you think sets you apart from like other conservatives like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio?
Well, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are politicians. They spent their entire life in politics. It's all they do. Run and win, run and win, run and win. They're part of the establishment. And one other thing, they've never made an executive decision in their life. It's not that they're bad people. It's that when you never have to make an executive decision, to learn that on the job in the Oval Office, in these dangerous times, you try the first term senator. It's not just a matter of ideology, it's a matter of experience. So, that's the difference. I've made tough decisions all my life, and I'm not a professional. The way you go from secretary to CEO,
Oh, that's okay. So long. What steps will you take to protect religious liberties?
well, first I want you to go on to carlyforpresident.com and ask that question. There's a lot of great information.
Okay.
But secondly, we need to have not only national religious protection curriculum, but we also need to have state and there's been a lot of state laws. I've always stood up and defended them because we have state governments that are literally making it impossible for people to practice their religious freedom. And these RFRA laws, they don't give people license to discriminate. They protect people who want to practice their faith. So, all right, thanks. Thanks for being here.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question for you. So,
are you a voter? A reporter?
No, I'm a voter.
Okay.
Yes, of course. I'm an independent.
Stick out here. Okay.
Consider myself an independent, but so my question is, I have a chronic illness, right? And I just graduated college. I'm in the working world. When I was in college, I was protected by the Americans with Disability Act. But now that I've graduated, I'm in the real world. But my concern is about earned sick leave. So earned paid sick leave. Do you think I deserve it? I have a chronic illness, and whether my employer offers it or not, a lot of places don't. And I'm concerned about missing work, missing paychecks. It's kind of a
Well, I think that's very fair. I don't think it's the federal government's job to mandate how employers deal with their employees. But what I can tell you is that you need to search for an employer who's going to value your contribution. And when you find that employer, they're going to give you the support that you need. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Carly, first time that we heard you in person. I watched all the debates.
So
fabulous.
I'm so glad you came too. Does that mean I can count on you? Well, awesome.
I am awesome. I'm her husband.
Well, I
and
know
I've made
you're
her,
awesome.
I've made her everything she is.
Yeah, right, Crony, we'll talk about that later.
You want me to sign
the
this?
Christmas card?
Yeah, maybe you would let us take a picture.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
You don't
Thank you
look
for
a bit
coming.
tired, but you must be exhausted.
Well, this is what I'm supposed to say. Okay.
Oh, the camera's behind you, honey.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Don't look back. Look forward. She prays. I don't pray. I'm agnostic.
And you can also get everybody you know to vote for you. You talk to everybody you know. All right, it matters.
We gave somebody a check tonight. We've sent a couple to your home in Virginia.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
And we'll keep on sending. Send one or two more.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you both. Hi.
Did you give her back the camera?
All right, work with me. All right, go out there and sign up. But we can fund women's health centers, pregnancy centers. There are all these centers out there that provide more. Absolutely. There are many things that we can do. But Planned Parenthood takes taxpayer funding and contributes tens of millions of dollars every year in political contributions. This isn't the way it's supposed to work.
No. But instead of just defunding it, just say there are so many other avenues to reduce the demand.
Yes, and we could, by the way, make birth control generic. That would reduce the cost dramatically. But the Democrats stand in the way of it. So, anyway, thank you for your support.
But instead of just saying defund it, opt the other options.
Okay, good. Thank you, ma'am. I'm counting on you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. So I can count on you, right? Okay. Thank you.
Very inspiring.
Thank you.
And don't believe the polls. The people who are paying attention aren't picking up the phone and answering them.
Who picks up a phone when it's unknown?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Very inspiring, and we're with you.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
I like your power, your fire, your intellect, and your character. Here you go. You can do this.
Thank you. Yes, sir, I can.
You will
With
do
your
that.
help, I will
We
do
need
this.
bigger venues.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. We need to take care of people.
I speak from something personal, and they base whether or not someone qualifies or not on their Social Security. Their insurance has gone up, what they take out of that has gone up. And when you have someone fill 3 prescriptions that I just filled,
I know. So here's how we're going to fix it. Because I'm a cancer survivor.
I know you are.
All right, and so I really do understand this, but it's not working. Obamacare isn't working. So, of course people need help, but we're going to give the money and the responsibility to help back to the states. Because the closer you put money to people impacted by decisions, the better those decisions are.
I understand.
We're going to have insurance companies compete, and we're going to make sure that the government's role should be to mandate that every healthcare provider publish on a regular basis their costs, their prices, their outcomes. Because we have no idea the quality of the care we get. So, you're right, we have to take care of people. But this isn't working.
Social Security disability, they're on Medicare. And it's a pharmaceutical company.
That's right. That's right.
They're the ones.
And they're the ones that help write this bill, by the way.
I know.
Along with the health insurance companies. So you know who they're focused on. Themselves.
You have my vote.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really do.
Thank you.
I'm also a person from Virginia.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Doing a fantastic job. Almost in the polls because now they don't put your the big boys. Because I only work for Verizon, and when I saw you got to where you did at HP, after coming out of Lucent that time, if you can do that, then you can do anything. That's right. Well, you help me, and I can do it. Right. Hey, I keep dragging new people every time. Good. All right. Wish you were the President of the United States. All right. Wish you. Thank you very much. You are wonderful. It's my third time. Support. And every time you get better. Awesome. We're with you.
Thank you. Help me. All right.
I am so glad you brought up student loans. This is my wife. We spent. How are you? She raised a family. Spent. I don't want to tell you how much to come to college to get a high-tech job. And now she's at 6%. Her plus loans, if you have to get my son, are 8%. So.
All right. Let's get
we need help.
All right. So you're going to help me, and I'm going to help you.
I will.
Thank you.
Love your fire.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless. Thank you for taking the time to talk with everyone. 1 second, honey.
Step right in.
We came all this way, not only to see you, but to see the primary and the rallies here. And I thought, well, actually I'm probably more left-wing or democratic-sided, but I thought you were very inspiring. And the way you put your inspiration on paper, and you seem to involve people, but with that, it would be some kind of issue to see you against Hillary.
Yes, it would.
Yes. I came here as a Hillary fan, but I think you stand for your issues.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice speech. Also from Holland.
So nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck. All righty. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I think that's very thankful. I did very much like the water. That's very thoughtful of you.
Didn't work the first time. Can you try again? Didn't work the first time.
Oh, okay. Who's got your camera? Ah, all right. Thank you. Hi, I'm Devin. Hi, Devin. Are you the one with the YN or the IN? The YN. Okay. Thank you very much. I was wondering if make sure it's a photo. Make sure it's a photo. All right, who's got the camera here? That's Mom. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Nice to meet you.
What's your short?
Okay. Oh, I know. I remember. Thank you.
I just want to tell you how impressed I was with you. Really. I mean,
All right, you're on my
seriously.
team?
Oh, yeah. I mean, seriously, they give you a lot of marks, and you spoke beautifully.
So help me. All right? Help me. Help me. All right? Help me.
Carly, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm a veteran, and I was going to ask you about Veterans Administration here in the state of New Hampshire. We do not have a full service hospital.
No, you don't. I know, because I've talked to a lot of veterans here.
What do we do?
Well, you know what I'm going to do to reform the VA?
That's a good question. That is my question.
First of all, we need to send the resources here, but we have to reform the VA. So I'm going to ask a group of veterans. I've been asking veterans.
I wish you would.
How do you want to be served? And you're going to give me...
service hospital here in the state of New Hampshire.
There you go. You're going to have a
I've
better...
got plenty of land because Manchester doesn't have it.
You and your fellow veterans are going to give us a better blueprint for reforming the VA than all the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. combined. So, that's what I'm
We need a
asking.
new hospital to do this.
Yes, okay.
Can you give us one?
Not by myself, but
No,
yes.
I understand.
Yes.
I mean, we really do need a good hospital.
I hope you'll support me so I can help you.
Give it a shot.
All right.
I'm a
Thank you.
Democrat, believe it or not.
Well, that's all right. You can register to vote Republican and come vote for
Register
me.
independent all the time.
There you go. All right, we're good.
Great job.
Thank you.
We love you.
All right, thank you. I really yeah.
A big thanks so much.
Right of the century. Right here. All right. You guys have to be on the TV.
I know that combating cyber attacks is very big for you, and you told NHPR that we need to do these things that the Chinese government stole personal information, and we need to do the same. So do you mean take personal information
No,
of
I mean
Chinese citizens?
No, what I mean is we need to respond. When we're attacked, we have to respond. We can't just lay back and say, hold a big state glittery dinner and not even talk about it, which is what this administration did. After the Chinese stole the personal information of 23 million people, not only was there no response, but President Obama held a glittering state dinner and the subject never came up. So what do the Chinese conclude from that? Oh, we can keep doing this. Look, I've held the highest clearances available to a civilian. I've chaired the advisory board at the CIA. There is no doubt that we have known for at least 12 years that the Chinese were trying to hack into our most sensitive databases and systems. So we can't just lay back and do nothing. We have to both protect ourselves and we have to respond. Good.
Chris Christie has come under fire for donating to Planned Parenthood. Do you think that this should be concerning to voters?
Well, I do, because it suggests, say one thing, do something else. It's kind of what politicians do. Say whatever you have to say to get reelected and then do as you please. It's not consistent with what he says now. And I think voters care that your actions match your words.
You mentioned in an interview with Sean Hannity that you didn't want to get into personal information about Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, but you did say that if you had been in the same position, that you would have left your husband if he had done the same. And you said that you wouldn't have behaved as Hillary did. Do you believe some of the women who have come forward and said that he is guilty of sexual assault? And if so, do you think that she was complicit in that by not speaking out against it?
Well, look, I think that Bill Clinton, as a former president of the United States, is fair game. And I was honest and said, if my husband were doing those things, I would leave him. And yes, I think there has been a lot of evidence to suggest that Bill Clinton behaved in a predatory manner in some cases. On the other hand, I've also said that I don't think this is the way to defeat Hillary Clinton. I think the way to defeat Hillary Clinton is not to blame her for her husband's actions, but to take her to task for her own actions or her lack of action. So the way to beat Hillary Clinton is to point out that she doesn't have a track record of accomplishment, that she's been wrong on every foreign policy challenge, that she lied to the American people, not just about emails and servers, but about the terrorist attack in Benghazi, and she lied over and over again. That's the way to beat Hillary Clinton. That's how I intend to beat her. Okay? All right. That's your 5 minutes of fame. Good job.
Thank you. I don't know.
All right. Bye, guys. Nice to meet you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Yes. Now, where are your puppies?
They're with the dog sitter tonight. My husband's in Iowa. But they'll be home late tonight, so the puppies will be home tonight.
When will you see them?
Can't wait. One day.
Oh my gosh. Thank you again.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your help. One more request.
Will the Grange members? Grange members?
Grange
Grange members?
All right, Grange.
That's all I wanted. Stay here. Grange members? In front of the parkway?
That's an important job, especially in the cold. Okay, Grange members. Come on, guys. Grange. You're green.
Come on, man.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
You make a better door than a window. Get down. Get down.
These guys. All right. You guys are fine. You got everybody?
Are we getting a picture? Everyone suitable for frame. Behind you.
All right, we got it? Wait. All right, ready.
Carly.
We gotta clean up this area.
Yeah, we gotta clean up the polls. I'm supervisor of the checkers for town affairs. He works the polls. I drag him into it. Oh, yeah, no. Thank you. All right, God bless. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for coming.
All right, thank you for coming. Thanks for your help.
That was totally outstanding tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your help and your support. Thank you so much.
much. Good job.
Thank you. Thanks for joining and support. All right, that's how it happens here. Okay, we're rooting for you. Thank you.
So I asked you about this this afternoon. You said that you said like a dungeon. Here has been a dungeon. You were asked about it. She's on. Yeah, not on here. What is it? So as long as you can hear her. That's all right. Okay.